There's not a single industry out there that hasn't been either positively or negatively affected by AI and machine learning. There are very few technologies that have actually been disruptive in the same way that AI and machine learning have. And the law enforcement and military industries are no exception to this. But the use of AI for law enforcement and military purposes has started to bring up a lot of ethical issues that haven't truly been addressed yet. The Irish government has recently had a hearing for the use of AI for law enforcement officers. Initially, it was proposed that police would use body cameras that would use live facial recognition software. This has actually started a row between two parties in a coalition with each other. Initially, they proposed to have this facial recognition software on top of body cameras, but they ended up just settling for implementing the body cameras with a view to try and implement the facial recognition software in the future. Although I had never actually heard of this Minister for Justice before, Helen McEntee, she seems to be the face of AI for policing nowadays. Although the Green Party are pretty much useless in most situations, they have managed to prevent the use of facial recognition software, although they are planning to roll it out again next year. The original idea was to only roll this out in certain situations where an individual might have a pretty substantial threat to public safety. Although with any sort of new tool or protocol, when it's not been strictly specified when it can and can't be used, it ends up being abused. I know this isn't a new concept for people who are living abroad or overseas. Facial recognition software has been widely used by the police in countries such as China, the UK, and even the United States for a long time now. But instead of just blindly implementing the solution, it's brought up a lot of debate upon the ethical issues of implementing it. Now, besides facial recognition, AI has been used by the police in the Republic of Ireland for a long time now. Siren is a platform that has previously been used by police in Ireland and other countries. Siren is primarily used to search sources that would normally be done manually or with predefined models, stuff like employee records, emails, etc. It uses Elasticsearch, which is just pretty much a non-relational DB. It can be used to search and store data on lots of different data sources, so it's very helpful for doing the manual work that would normally be done by police officers. Besides just facial recognition that's being used in places like the United States and the UK, there's other forms of identification that's widely being used with surveillance systems. Gait recognition is a pretty draconian method, if I do say so myself. Just like any sort of physical attributes such as your face or your body, the way you walk can actually be used to identify someone. With the use of disguises and masks that were pretty common in lockdown, gait recognition is widely being used as a way of being able to identify certain people, especially in large crowds and groups. Now, say what you want for the use of AI for stuff like social media and other online platforms, but a lot of these ethical issues that were brought up previously before are a lot more significant when you're talking about law enforcement and military use. AI and machine learning at the end of the day is only really as good as its data set. Especially when you get into the realm of using models for predictive purposes, this causes a whole other concern. When you get into the realm of predictive policing using AI models, this can cause a lot of issues when you're using training data that was relied on historical crime patterns. For stuff like trying to figure out avenues that certain assailants may have gone into during crimes. You're getting into a scenario similar to like Minority Report, where people are targeted and investigated before it's known if they've even committed a crime or not. And I know this is an extreme case, but I mean, these sort of predictive models are based on historical patterns. You're going to eventually end up with biases. I mean, facial recognition has been shown to be inaccurate based on skin tones and certain nationalities. I mean, this isn't really an issue in Ireland for the most part because we're a homogenous country, but in certain places like the United States and United Kingdoms causes other issues. And especially if you're training your model based on data sets that are from other countries. The issue with this is especially when you look at the sheer amount that it costs to implement these systems and these new fancy technologies. It's not really worth it if it's not even accurate at the end of the day. AI has been used by cameras in order to try and detect speeders and other people causing motor offences, and this system costs well over 100 million euros. I'm okay with large companies and Even government bodies, to some extent, like using technology that is brand new and might cost a lot for R&D purposes. But at the end of the day, if it's not even doing its purpose, then what is the point of it? Unlike every other system that's previously been used to analyze user data and just passively collect user data, this has a propensity to be abused and used by people in power in order to undermine people. The use of predictive models in policing has definitely changed the relationship between investigation and justifiable cause, especially when we get into the scenario of using predictive models for policing. It'd be interesting to see how the Irish government implements this in the future, if they'll just blindly implement it without any sort of input from the community, or if they take into account all of these ethical issues that have been raised by various people in power. And again, this is just something that has been happened all over various other countries, but it's just really interesting to see it happening in my backyard. And as I've mentioned in the previous video that I made, the level of incompetence that you see in some of the police services in Ireland has brought up a massive concern over the amount of data that's being harvested on regular citizens anyway, not even taken into account using AI and machine learning. But hey, what can you do? Until then, I'll see you next time.